Okay. Okay, time is. Okay, hello everyone. Hello all 华语 teachers and Chinese language students and friends from the media.
We are Matthew and Xiong from the Taiwan International Student Movement.
We will be the host to help to facilitate today's event. This is online rally. All 华语 students should be allowed to enter Taiwan activity. Thank you for joining. And we will have a Chinese-English bilingual translation of subtitles. You can see it through the Zoom program. We will provide Chinese subtitles when someone speaks in English, and vice versa. If you can't see the subtitles, please tell us on the chat box. We are holding an online rally here today, which is also an online press conference. We hope that Taiwanese society can see the plight of 华语 teachers and students, and the Ministry of Education can proactively assist in handling the entry of Chinese language students. Although today is April Fool's Day, it is certainly not a joke to Chinese language students, teachers, and support groups. Hence, we invite all teachers and students to speak out their concerns aloud and to think about the way out to solve the dilemma together. Let me briefly talk about the process of today's gathering, and it will be in two sections. In the first half hour, we will have non-scholarship Chinese language student Leaf, scholar Chinese language student Lisa, 华语 teacher Carlos Lin, representative of the Taiwan International Student Movement Atsao, and director of the organization department of the Taiwan Higher Education Trade Union, Lin Boyi, speak. These speeches will be ended within half an hour. After that, we welcome all participants to join the discussion and share their experiences or opinions with each other. Whether you are a 华语 teacher, a Chinese language student, or someone else who is concerned about this topic. In the follow-up discussion, considering that most Chinese-speaking students are still unable to enter the country to learn Chinese, we hope everyone can use English as much as possible. Because this is an online rally, we hope that everyone can open your computer camera to show your face so that other people can see you. We believe this connection is important. If you worry that your picture leak out in public, you can wear a mask.
Before the first speaker, let us give you an introduction to the situation of Chinese language students.
Okay, so it's my turn to talk.
Chinese language students are foreign students who come to Taiwan to learn Chinese. There are 20,674 Chinese-speaking students in Taiwan in 2020. This number includes students who are in the country and who cannot enter the country to study online. Due to the epidemic, Chinese-speaking students have not been allowed to apply for visas to come to Taiwan since 2020. And these conditions perpetuate until now. It not only affects the freshmen, but also the current students who are studying Chinese in Taiwan. They have to return to their home country halfway due to different situations. What is worth mentioning is that some of the Chinese-speaking students are students who have received scholarships from the Ministry of Education, and there are about 800 such students every year. Since July last year, the Ministry of Education has successfully opened the entry of overseas degree students. In October, the Ministry of Education once reported that it was preparing to open the entry of Chinese scholarship students. But it did not fulfill this promise in the following up. In mid-March of this year, about 3 weeks ago, the Ministry of Education finally agreed to apply to the command center for the entry of Chinese scholarship students. But it is too late. Due to the lack of the students, a large number of Chinese teachers have lost their jobs, and many Chinese students without scholarship have spent nearly a year waiting for entry. We hope that the uncertainty will not torture Chinese teachers and students anymore. So today's request is the first one. The Ministry of Education should apply to the Central Epidemic Command Center as soon as possible to open entry for all Chinese-speaking students, and the command center shall evaluate it based on the quarantine capacity. The second one, administrative departments, such as the Ministry of Education, should provide Chinese-speaking students with sufficient information on scholarships and entry schedules to avoid endless anxious waiting. Next, I invite Leave, a non-scholarship Chinese language students, to speak. He is from Indonesia. He had already studied Chinese in Taiwan since last year, but he could not re-enter the country because he went back to Indonesia to handle some issues. So here will be the time for Leave to share his experience to us. Welcome, Leave.
First of all, thank you for giving me a chance to talk about these issues. I am a non-scholarship student from Indonesia that tried to return to Taiwan. As we know, it's been 1 year already since Taiwan banned Chinese language students. Well, they did allow foreign degree students to enter since 30 August 2020, but until now, Chinese language students still unable to enter Taiwan. As a non-scholarship student that tried to return to Taiwan since April 2020, I also still waiting for certainty. And personally, I am upset because until now, I still not be able to return to Taiwan, resulting in skipping 4 terms of the semester, including last spring 2021. Despite that, I already retake the test on February 2021, due to I left so many Mandarin lessons behind. I dedicated myself to learn Mandarin, including use online method for 1 year. But unfortunately, the online method does not help much because I experienced technical difficulties such as slow internet, and my environment do not support well since people do not speak Mandarin in my country. I also keep paying 9,000 Taiwan dollar per month for my rent in Taiwan until now because I want to keep my stuff safe, and I believe I will return to Taiwan as soon as possible. But what I get is only false hope, and I have to skip term again and again, despite that I got 3 letters, 2 admission letters, including the new spring 2021 and a returning letter on July 2020. I am hoping I can enter Taiwan in May for quarantine purpose, especially because I already paid for summer term 2020 last year. So I am hoping I can attend summer term 2021 because you need to do pre-register on 16 until 17 May at the school. And if I able enter at early June, I will end up cannot join summer term 2021 because the class usually starts on 1st June or 2nd June. I believe this policy also gives a lot of side effects in Chinese language education, not only upcoming Chinese language students, but to the Chinese language centers, the students who still study in Taiwan, and Chinese teachers. Chinese language centers begin to have lacks of students and starting to experiencing financial difficulties. Students who still studies in Taiwan were forced to pay more expensive tuition. Whenever the reason is that lack of class or the price getting higher. A lot of Chinese teachers lost their job because there are no upcoming new students. On 10 March 2021, as we know, Minister of Education decided to prioritize 1,400 scholarship students to enter. But how about non-scholarship students? If we talk about side effects, even though these scholarship students can enter, will these students be enough to cover the empty classes? Last year, the number of Chinese language students in the 109 academic school dropped to 20,674, which is less than the number of 32,040 foreign degree students. 1,400 scholarship students are only small number of students, and since it's already almost the middle of 2021, it's time to let all the Chinese language students enter. If Minister of Education want to prioritize 1,400 scholarship students, I believe they're supposed to do it last year, which they mentioned last October, and unfortunately, after that, they still did not allow them to enter to the point, skipping the last spring term 2021. And as the result of the delays, now the scholarship students are waiting and forced to reapply scholarship again due to being neglect. And I believe now, not only scholarship students are waiting for so long, non-scholarship students also waiting to enter too. Minister of Education does not separate degree students. So why do they distinguish between Chinese language students? Both scholarship and non-scholarship students are equal. They want to come to Taiwan to learn the Chinese language. They also contribute to Chinese language education in Taiwan. If Minister of Education want to make Taiwan the major destination to learn Chinese language, they should let all Chinese language students enter immediately.
Thank you, Liv. Thank you for your speech. We know that non-scholarship Chinese language students like you are in a very serious situation. Next, we will play the speech video of scholarship Chinese language student Lisa. She happened to be unable to participate at this time, so her voice was presented through a video. Now, let me see the video from Lisa.
Hello, my name is Lisa Cross, and I'm a 2020 Huayu Scholarship recipient. I am from America, and I graduated around 2020 as well. And I hoped after my undergrad studies that I could pursue full-time Mandarin studies in Taiwan. I was gratefully accepted into NCCU, which is where I studied abroad in my undergrad career. And I absolutely fell in love with Taiwan. However, it has definitely been a hard experience trying to enter the country and pursue my goals and pursue my dreams of studying Mandarin. I hope to use my Mandarin fluency to pursue higher education and eventually a career in a Mandarin speaking country. Therefore, this opportunity has great value and great meaning to me, and I know I speak for all Mandarin students, scholarship and non-scholarship, when I say the value that this opportunity holds for us. Unfortunately, because of the COVID situation, many of us have not been able to enter the country, and therefore many of us have had to give up our opportunities and our goals to pursue Mandarin. I have been fortunate enough to be able to continue on this path, and I hope that the government can see our efforts, the efforts of all Mandarin students, and see that we are dedicated. We are dedicated to learning and to growing, not only ourselves, but in Taiwan as well. And that they will provide us with more equal opportunities so that we can enrich who we are and even possibly Taiwan. The hardships we faced have been lack of news, generally across the board for the whole year. It's been hard to hear any news on Mandarin students. And I was incredibly hopeful when they first started opening the border for degree-seeking students, because I figured that the government would consider us as serious students as well, and that we would be the next wave in. Unfortunately, that never happened, and we've all been waiting for news, waiting for hope that we will be able to enter soon. And I just want to say that even though it's been very difficult, I'm still incredibly dedicated to going. Studying Mandarin means a lot to me and a lot for my aspirations. And I hope that the government can see the value that Mandarin students bring to the economy and how we can benefit growth in diplomacy and cultural awareness. Thank you.
Thank you, Lisa, for her contribution. Next, I will invite 华语 teacher Carlos Lin to speak. He will talk about his views on the Chinese language policy of the Ministry of Education and share the situation of 华语 teachers. Welcome, Carlos.
谢谢。感谢境外生权益小组各位先进同学与记者朋友的关注。我是这次的教师发言代表林老师。直到今年2月前，我一直都在南部教华语。自去年8月第一波疫情趋缓开始，政府已经阶段性开放商务人士、外交人员、移工、打工度假青年以及学位生入境。那在最近4月又开放了国流间的旅游泡泡。然而，在这歌舞升平、前景一片看好之际，华语师生却依旧因为教育部的不作为，分别面临失业以及学习计划被短暂的窘境。自去年9月起，我为改变现状做过不少尝试，包括于这个公共政策平台发起开放华语生入境台湾的提案，还有创设粉专华语教学民营撰文讨论此一事件，并曾多次致信教育部信箱，请求比照学位生入境的标准，开放华语生入境。即便此一诉求逐渐获得师生及社会各界注意，但教育部自始至终毫不理会，仅以视国内防疫量能为由回复，而后更是忽略我提出的疑问，包含开放是否有时程啊，决定开放标准为何等等，以重复陈情为由，片面将我的陈情结案审查。那至于我本人，也不敌这个现实的摧残，于今年2月因学生人数不足而失去工作。那在这个工作权益方面，我之前任教的中心到目前为止更是不认与我的雇佣关系。希望借此为我免去这个调整职务啊，或是发给资遣费与非自愿离职证明等等义务。那以上种种在我身上都还不是第一例。教育部对华语生入境、就学等事宜的怠慢，已经严重影响到我们师生的权益。在疫情已经第2次趋缓，可能是第3次了啊。国内已经明显有足够防疫能量，得以应付国门敞开，让观光客、商务人士、移工、学位生等族群都能顺利入境的当下，教育部应即刻开放所有华语生入境，让老师有课可教，学生得以顺利实践其生涯规划，包含学习华语，或甚至是于学习华语后进一步攻读学位，以确保能跟上进度，而不是继续从各方面要求教师开办线上课，投入自己的时间和精力相忍为国，用爱发电，发展一套近乎全新的课程，却少有实质的包含经费、软硬体、人力、教材、生源等等方面对老师直接的支持。以上我的发言到此结束，谢谢各位。
Thank you, Mr. Lin, for your speech. As a representative of the Taiwan International Student Movement, A Cao will also share our views. A Cao, are you here?
Okay, please wait me for 1 minute.
Okay.
大家好，我是境外生权益小组的阿草。今天我用中文发言，希望告诉大家， 境外生权益小组作为一个主要由境外学位生组成的团体，也支持教育部开放全部不分有无奖学金的华语学生入境。我们认为华语学生也是境外生的一员，他们同样被台湾的大学华语教学中心录取，同样怀抱着来台接受教育的期待，同样因此而对自己的人生规划进行了调整。在疫情稳定的当下，我们认为华语学生有权按照当初的约定入境学习，不应该继续被挡在门外，承受不确定感的持续折磨。我想说，华语学生的受教权也是受教权，有教无类，不应以修习学位或语言而有所区分。同时，我们知道教育部现在已经在向指挥中心申请开放1400名华语奖学金学生入境。我们也非常希望能够从指挥中心那边听到好消息，毕竟距离消息发布已经过了半个多月的时间。我们希望这个过程能够顺利，但是我们还想说，开放奖学金学生是不够的，这不光对于非奖学金华语学生不公平，对于华语老师的工作权，对于华语教学的正常开展都是不够的。首先，正如刚才来自印尼的利夫同学所述，非奖学金学生也有自己的梦想所要追逐，自己对于华语学习的热情想要实现，这并不会因为有没有奖学金而有所差别。对于学位生，教育部没有区分开放有奖学金的学位生和无奖学金的学位生。我们希望在面对华语学生的问题时，教育部也不应该做出差别对待。第二，因为长期没有新的华语学生入境，各华语文教学中心已经无法正常开课，大量解聘华语老师。这其中大学当然也要负很大的责任。我们也是到最近才知道，原来大专院校内的华语老师并没有雇佣保障，竟然都是3个月一聘的非典型聘雇，导致如今华语老师们连应有的劳动保障都缺乏。我们期待华语老师的雇佣关系能够得到保障，也期待各大学能够随着华语生逐渐入境，重新以正当方式聘雇老师们。我们觉得只有老师们受到保障，学生们才能够安心学习。而现在的状况却是，即使指挥中心核可1400名华语学生入境，他们分散在全台各大专院校的华语文教学中心，其实每校所分到的华语学生人数差异悬殊，平均下来人数也很少。因为华语学生总共有近2万人，而华语文教学中心在台湾总共约有60个。许多华语文中心可能因学生人数不足，而根本无法在此后维持正常教学的开展。我们也收到一些在疫情中未离开台湾仍继续学习的华语学生的分享。他们说，虽然自己很幸运能在台湾学习，但是因为缺乏同学，他们被迫要被学校调整成最昂贵的小班教学，即使想去修习其他等级的课程也非常困难，因为学生不够，学校只能开特定的几门课程。因此，我们诉求教育部尽快开放全部华语学生入境，并明确给出入境时程。开放华语学生入境不仅对于华语师生来说是解除困境的好方法，对于台湾社会来说，华语文教学这类语言文化的交流，对于促进跨国界人民的互相理解、传播台湾文化、提升台湾社会与国际的连结都有正向帮助。在疫苗开打、疫情消退的时候，我们更应该思考的是如何回归正常的社会生活。我们认为允许跨境移动者入境，解除不必要的管制，就是很好的开始。谢谢大家。
Thank you, Atao. Next, we will invite Lin Boyi, Director of the Organization Department of the Taiwan Higher Education Industry Trade Union, a solidarity group, to speak. Welcome, Lin Boyi.
OK， 大家好今天我是高教工会的组织部主任林博仪。那今天来出席声援这一个我们境外生权益小组的诉求首先第一点我们高教工会认为政府愿意陆续开放华语班的非学位生入境是正确的方向，但是现行用有无受奖学金来作为开放与否或者开放的先后顺序的这个标准 恐怕是属于行政法上面的一种不当连结，应该要检讨。为什么呢？因为实际上啊，政府现在这种只先开放有奖学金学生的做法，它跟到底是不是应该有这样的一个先后顺序的合适性啊，是没有关联性的。没有奖学金的华语生啊，不会因为没有奖学金而比较不需要及早入学，他反而实际上是需要更充裕的时间啊，来安顿他在台湾就学的经济生活。所以政府应该要做的呢，是在科学客观的风险管控下，平等满足境外人士经检疫等措施后，免除其传染风险后入台的机会了。政府如果真的有必要要设定先后顺序啊，入台的先后顺序，也应该是要按照这个所谓境外人士来源地客观的传染风险就也许有些地方目前还比较有传染风险，有些比较薄弱，或者说要依据这个境外人士跟台湾人民应该要受保障的连带关系的强弱来做先后顺序，而不是用跟这些没有关联性的其他标准。我们举例来说，目前短期经商者却能够优先于境外生入境或者说有奖学金的人就能够优先比没有奖学金的人入境，这可能都是行政法上一种不当连结，这我们认为政府应该予以避免的。这是第一点。第二点是说，其实在这一次这些过去1年来，我们观察到我们的台湾的各大学的华语中心教育的确发生了很严重的问题，它反映的是我们过去长期以来我们华语中心用一种我们简称叫做血汗劳动的方式来提供华语教育，它用编制外聘任、低人力成本、低劳动保障的方式来聘雇华语教师，来供应我们的国际学生做华语学习，然后赚了大量的校务基金。然后结果却就因为过去1年来华语学生暂缓来台就把这一个所谓业务的紧缩转嫁给华语教师来承担例如说就是不但没有提供他们转职的机会然后以未开班为由无预警的解雇，没有给他们资遣费，没有给他们非自愿离职证明也没有让他们有失业给付的可能，也拒绝承认跟他们有雇佣关系或者他们的劳动权法保障。然后我们过去累积的大量的校务基金却没有用来维护华语教师跟华语学生的权益。其实这样的做法不但是可能有违法嫌疑而且在适当性上面应该要大幅的改正那工会高度认为所谓的华语教育，它应该是我们台湾各大学要走向国际化的一种必要的编制华语教育实际上就是让国际学生来台有机会能够融入到台湾学习当地的语言，是一种必要的编制。所以各大学它应该是要用常态性的预算来用正规的方式聘任华语教师，提供我们国际学生高品质的华语教育的内容，而不能够容许现在这种华语生没有办法入境然后有成本考量就砍华语教师的廉价短线的做法。那最后表达一点就是我没有写在发言稿上面，就是说不但华语学生应该要尽快能够入境台湾，在免除疫情的风险下尽快的进入，这个进入不是因为要来填补例如台湾高教的生源不足的问题而已，这个进入本身本来就应该是作为在台湾能够就学的国际学生的一种权利，在这个基础上我们本来就高度支持，而也是在重视这种权利下，我们认为我们的华语教师应该要受到正常的聘雇，受到保障，才能提供高品质的教育。谢谢。
Thank you. Thanks all the speakers. Our press conference ends now. So the next, we move on to our free section discussion. Everyone in the Zoom can join in our discussion to share your ideas, your feelings, your questions, or anything you want to say about this topic, anything you want to say about the Chinese language students. If you want to speak, please tell us on the chat box that you want to say something, and we as hosts will invite you for sharing. If you are not comfortable in speaking English, please feel free to speak Chinese. We will have immediate translation in subtitle. So now, besides, please have a brief introduction before your speech. So now, anybody want to share something about this topic in our Zoom?
Sorry, before the discussion, I think we have a simple survey and want to conduct. I will post it in the Zoom and everyone can fill in. OK， 我们再投大概20秒钟，然后我们会就是分享这个问卷投票的结果。欢迎大家现在点选 Zoom 中的那个投票的按键。
Okay, we had just held voting about the issue of Chinese language students, whether they can support them to or allow them to enter Taiwan. And we are doing an interactive section that you can vote freely, and then we will show the results in this activity afterwards.
好的，那我就是公布投票结果。
Now we will show the results of our voting. Okay, everyone can see the results of our vote on the screen. 100% of our people support the Ministry of Education to open up the entry of all Mandarin students. Okay, let's move on to our first section. Anybody want to say something about this topic, about the Chinese language students who can't enter into Taiwan to continue their education?